Peoples of the world, welcome back to the Dungeons and Cardboard Community Theater, showcasing real decks played by real people over on our Discord group. And today's submission is a little bit on the nutty side, I have to say. BootyMagic's Chatterfang Squirrel General deck. But before we get into the list itself, there's our socials. You can find my Discord details there, as well as the link for the Dungeons and Cardboard Discord group. There's also my username for Board Game Arena, so if you like playing European style board games, we can play browser based and turn based through Board Game Arena. They have lots of great titles on there. Be sure to look me up, send me a DM, and we can play whatever we want. And also Tik Tok shenanigans. I'll be starting a series soon on what I think are my favorite commanders in each color combination, starting with monocolored and moving on from there. So that's going to be fun. Sort of developing the concept real quick, and then once I've got that assembled, we'll start seeing that on TikTok. But let's start by seeing what BootyMagic's got going on here with the Chatterfang Squirrel General. BootyMagic is the Earl of Squirrel, and of course Chatterfang is the one to go with. 3 mana for a 3/3 warrior with Forest Walk. Whenever one or more tokens would be created under your control, you create those tokens plus that many green squirrel tokens instead. So create a treasure, you also get a squirrel. Create a squirrel, get another squirrel. Such is the idea here. Also, it has a black activated ability. Black, sacrifice X squirrels, target creature gets +X, -X until end of turn. So great little removal option on the commander, but it also means I can play both black and green in this list. Alright, so obviously highlighting Squirrel Nest because a classic infinite combo is in effect here. So Squirrel Nest, of course, double green and 1, you enchant a land. Enchanted land can now be tapped to create a 1/1 green squirrel. Why am I highlighting this card? I can set the classic combo of this and Earthcraft. Now remember to enchant a basic land, because how Earthcraft reads is tap an untapped creature you control. It doesn't care if the creature is sick or not. Tap an untapped creature you control to untap a basic land. So the idea here is you throw your Squirrel Nest onto a basic land, tap it to create a squirrel, tap the squirrel using your Earthcraft to untap that land, and you have all of the squirrels you could ever want. It's been winning games since ever since Squirrel Nest was printed, I think in 2000-ish. So long time, well known, very popular combo. Earthcraft is on the restricted list, so this is a bit of a money card. So heads up on that. We're going to see quite a few of those. This is Booty's baby. So he's got quite a few money cards in this list. Acorn Catapult I don't think is one of them, but it's a pretty sweet card. We're going to go through the artifacts and enchantments to start. So Acorn Catapult helps us create some squirrels. Achroma's Memorial gives all our squirrels all of those keywords. Arcane Signet for the mana. Ashnod's Altar and of course Phyrexian Altar are both here. Being able to sack our squirrels for mana and combo off the ham sandwich, such is the plan. Bootlegger's Stash. Lands you control have tapped, create a treasure token. I kind of have mixed feelings on the card. Yes, it's clearly powerful being able to bank mana from turn to turn to turn, especially if you have ways of untapping your lands from turn to turn, such as Seedborn use, etc. There's lots of ways to really bust this card. Just our commander does it here. Not only are we creating treasures, but we're also creating squirrels, as long as our commander is on the battlefield. And this too combos with Earthcraft. So, Bootlegger's Stash, a great add here. Chitter Spitter. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice a token. Spoiler alert, you'll sacrifice a token. Because if you do, this gets an acorn. All your squirrels get +1/+1 for each acorn on the Chitter Spitter. And on top of that, for a single green, you can create a squirrel. Jeweled Lotus to help us ramp out the commander a little bit faster. Skull Clamp. Sacrifice our squirrels. Draw some cards. Yes, please. Soul Ring. And of course, Throne of the God Pharaoh. This is a great game ender. For 2 mana, you drop this down. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control. Spoiler alert, we'll easily have like 65 of them. enchantments include Awakening Zone, which generates some tokens every upkeep. Bitter Blossom does the same. Carpet of Flowers generates mana for us on one of our main phases every turn. So how this works, classic card for a single green. During your main phase, you may add up to X mana of any one color to your mana pool, where X is the number of islands target opponent controls. Note that you can only use this once per turn. You can't use it on both your first and second main phases. So as long as you haven't used it in your first main phase, you can use it post-combat. Or vice versa. If you use it pre-combat, you cannot use it post-combat. But still, as long as there's a blue player on the table, and oftentimes there is, it's free mana, easy mana. We'll take it. Cloakwort Hermit, a background. So this only synergizes with our commander. But as long as our commander's on the battlefield, creatures we own now gain the ability of, at the beginning of our end step, a creature card put into our graveyard from anywhere this turn. Create 2 tapped green squirrel creature tokens. Yes, please. Again, this only works if our commander is on the battlefield, so if you've got this, protect the commander, so you can keep getting this value. Good Court and Crossroads. All creatures have haste for a single green mana. Very weird thing to see in green. Freshly reprinted. Thankfully reprinted. We needed this one. A world enchantment, if you're not familiar with it, by the way. Only one world enchantment, regardless of name or controller, can exist on the battlefield at any given time. So if someone's already got a Concordant Crossroads on the battlefield, and I play a Pillar Tombs of Aku, which is a world enchantment in black, well, say goodbye to the Concordant Crossroads. It's gone. That's how that works. I know it works vice versa. If there's a Pillar Tombs of Aku on the battlefield, someone casts Concordant Crossroads, the Pillar Tombs go away. Cryptolith Rite, turn all of our tokens into mana dorks. Doubling Season, turn all of our tokens into more tokens. Druid's Call, it says whenever enchanted creature is dealt damage, its controller puts that many 1/1 green squirrel tokens into play. So yeah, if someone is playing red, you know they have a Blasphemous Act coming. So, hey, throw this onto one of your creatures, someone decides to cast that Blasphemous Act, the board gets cleared, but then you get 13 squirrels. The Growing Rights of Itlamok. Not only does this provide us card advantage when it enters the battlefield, but it's very likely we'll be casting this once we've already got a bunch of tokens on the battlefield. It'll flip at the end of the turn into our budget Garrus Cradle, Itlamok, Cradle of the Sun. Mary's Guile. This is a great way to ensure that we draw good cards. We actually have a lot of ways of shuffling our library too, so this is in fact a great add here. For the single green, during your upkeep, you may look at the top 3 cards of your library and put them back in any order. Parallel Lives. Create more tokens. Phyrexian Arena to help us give us a more steady stream of cards. We've got some card draw on the deck. I don't know if it's adequate, personally, but we'll discuss that later. But the Phyrexian Arena definitely helps, as does the Sylvan Library. Always pay the 8 life, by the way, because you want those cards out of the way. Again, we do shuffle our deck often with this deck, so maybe you can get away with paying 4 life and taking 1 extra card. But the joke, of course, is that anytime someone plays the Sylvan Library, if you're not paying the 8 life, you're not doing it right. Our last enchantment is the Beat Hook Massacre. Black X, when this enters the battlefield, each creature gets -X until end of turn. So, kind of meh as a board wipe per se, but it is an amazing aristocrat card. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. You could, in concept, just cast this for black. X is 0, put it down, and dare your opponents to wipe your board. Totally dare them to do it. Spoiler alert, they won't. They won't want to, because they're going to turn off their own lights, as it were. Moving on to creatures. Birds of Paradise, of course, gives us mana of any color that we need. The Circle of Dreams Druid. It's triple green, but we're only running a 2-color deck, so comparatively easy to do here. And powerful mana effect here. Tap to add a green for each creature you control, and we control a lot of creatures here. That's why Creator Hoof Behemoth, the classic finisher, is here. 25 scrolls on the battlefield. Boom. Deep Forest Hermit and Deranged Hermit are both here. While they're in play, they give squirrel creatures +1/+1, but when they enter the battlefield, they bring 4 squirrels with them. So both of these are very, very powerful cards. 5 mana for 4 squirrels. Even if they die immediately or die in a couple turns' time, the Anthem effect won't necessarily last long. But squirrels, just get this 5 mana for 4 squirrels is a great rate. Jadar, Ghoul Caller of Nephilah. This is a great utility piece. This is one I think people sleep on a lot. 2 mana for a 1/1 human wizard. And at the beginning of your end step, if you do not control a creature of Decayed, you get a 2/2 zombie creature token with Decayed. Paired with our commander, it means it also comes with a squirrel. And it is super easy to get rid of that zombie token through various sacrifice means or even just attacking. The thing with Decayed is once the creature attacks, well, it's going to fall apart. Metallic Mimic. It comes down, we choose Squirrel. All our squirrels get +1/+1. Nadir's Nightblade says whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. The cool thing about this Aristocrat, we do have some treasure generation in the deck, as we've already seen with the Bootlegger Stash. So this says that whenever we sacrifice a treasure for mana, each of our opponents loses a life and we gain a life. And this doesn't even count what happens to our squirrels. Nested Shambler. For 1 black, we've got a 1/1 zombie. When this dies, create X tapped 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens, where X is the Shambler's power. I mean, it's going to create us 1, maybe 2. If we Skull Clamp it, maybe 4 squirrels, but to get maximum value, it's a very, very specific combination of cards. I'm not sold on its presence here, but it is thematic and on flavor. There's no questioning that. Nut Collector, 6 mana, 1/1. The 2000s were funny that way. At the beginning of your upkeep, you could put out a 1/1 green squirrel to each token. And if you've got 7 or more cards in your graveyard, all squirrels get +2/+2. All-around Frostfang, a 2/6. Attacking creatures you control have Death Touch, and then whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So yeah, all of a sudden our squirrels become super, super deadly on attack. Whenever we attack opponents with our squirrels, we have to decide if we want to give up cards or give up our creatures. And it's a really, really tough choice. Old Gnawbone. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many treasures, and additionally that many squirrels thanks to our commander. Pitiless Plunderer. This combos off with our commander and with the altars. Whenever another creature we control dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token. With our commander on the battlefield, that means it comes with a token and a squirrel, and with an altar, we can then sacrifice the new squirrel to trigger this again. Infinite mana? Easy. Scoot Swarm, the single most obnoxious card in existence. That may not be true, but that is how I feel about the card. I hate this card. It's a perfect fit here. I cannot contest its presence here. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under our control, create an insect. If we control 6 or more lands, instead create a token that's a copy of Scoot Swarm. It's obnoxious, it's annoying, I hate the card, but I do not fault Booty for running it here. It's perfect. It makes perfect sense. Squirrel Mob. Gets +1/+1 for each other squirrel in play, so big dumb squirrel beater. Squirrel Sovereign. Make all of our squirrels bigger. Tireless Provisioner says whenever a land hits the battlefield under our control, we get to create a food or a treasure. And Tusky says whenever a creature we control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Alright. Instants and Sorceries up next. Abrupt Decay, great removal piece, as is Assassin's Trophy, some of the best these two colors have to offer. We're going to see a lot of these cards that we have to sacrifice an artifact or a creature, but it draws us 2 cards pretty efficiently, so things like Costly Plunder. Dark Ritual, of course, for the quick mana boost. Deadly Dispute. I really like this ad here, because not only can we do we have our choice of sacrificing an artifact or a creature, it draws us the cards and creates a treasure. With our commander, this in turn, of course, creates a squirrel. So this is actually the best of these in this deck. Putrefy. Is it the best removal spell these colors have to offer? No, but it's still very effective. Destroy an artifact or creature, it cannot be regenerated. Is still effective, even if it's not considered the most efficient removal spell anymore. I personally still like it. I don't run it very much myself, but I still like it. The Reckoner's Bargain. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice an artifact or a creature. We could gain life equal to the sacrifice permanent's mana value. If we're sacrificing a token, chances are that's going to be 0. Oh well, we're drawing 2 cards. Vampiric Tutor. Put our best card on top of our library. Verdant Command. I love this ad here. 2 mana, choose 2. We're always going to choose mode 1. Target player creates 2 tapped green squirrel creature tokens. We're always going to choose mode 1. Modes 2 and 3 are super effective also in very situational cases. So, mode 2, counter a loyalty ability of a planeswalker. Oh, you just minus your Ugin? Sorry. Or mode 3, exile target card from a graveyard. Hey, is that a World Gorger Dragon in your graveyard? I don't think it belongs there. 4th mode, target player gains 3 life. We'll never really use that. Village Rites. For 1 black mana, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. Excellent efficiency here. And the Worldly Tutor. Go get our best creature, put it on top of our library. Sorceries. The Chatterstorm. So based on the number of spells that were cast this turn, we can play the sorcery, create a copy of it for every other spell played up to that point that turn, and create a 1/1 scroll each time. Crack Open says destroy target artifact or enchantment and create a treasure. Yes, it's sorcery speed, but it gives us that treasure token, and it could give us a squirrel too if our commander's on the board. Culling Ritual. I love this card. This thing is nasty. It seems like a non-bow at first. 4 mana, destroy each non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. Add black or green for each permanent destroyed this way. Yes, this will destroy all of your scroll tokens. But yeah, I would trade 20 squirrels for 20 mana any day. And this doesn't even count the artifacts that we're destroying from our opponents, all of their mana rocks, all of their 0 mana value tokens if they have any. So, a great board wipe, a great way to ritual into a ton of mana. Cultivate, classic ramp piece. He's got a nice version in the deck, so that's why it's here. Demonic Tutor, go get our best card. Diabolic Tutor does the same thing. Pest Infestation says destroy up to X artifacts or enchantments. The cost is green XX, so that means it's 3 mana to blow up 1 thing, 5 mana to blow up 2 things, 7 mana to blow up 3 things, etc. Not a great rate, especially at sorcery speed, but creates twice X 1/1 black and green pests. So all of a sudden it's 3 mana, destroy an artifact or enchantment, get 2 pests. 5 mana, destroy 2 things, get 4 pests. With our commander on the battlefield, we also get the appropriate number of squirrels. So a great ad here. Yes, it's sorcery speed, but the value is real. Profane Tutor, go get our best card eventually. 3 visits to go get a forest card. And Toxic Deluge, our best board wipe. A couple of planeswalkers. Garruk, Cursed Huntsman. 6 mana, but the 0 lets us create some wolves. With our commander, it also creates some squirrels. Whenever the wolves die, Garruk gains loyalty. -3, destroy a creature, draw a card. So, -1 card from the board, +1 card to our hand. Love that. -6, we get an emblem with creatures we control get +3/+3 and have trample. Oh yes, permanent overrun. I like that. I also like drawing cards off of Liliana. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. The +1 gives us a zombie, which will also give us a squirrel most of the time. -4, each player sacrifices 2 creatures, unless our opponents are also playing go white tokens. That's devastating. -9, don't worry about the -9. Liliana is definitely here for the card draw and for the board control. Alright, lands. We've got 31 of them, not very many. And not very many of them produce mana, so this could be both a strength and a weakness, but most people have been shrinking their mana bases. Booty, of course, has put a lot of money into this deck, so we actually have a Bayou here. One of the old school dual lands. No consequence to running this. No coming into play tapped or anything. This is just a swamp forest that we can use. Blooming Marsh. Command Tower. Fabled Passage. Remember, the Earthcraft combos require a basic land, so Fabled Passage is a great help with this. 6 forests. Alenawar Waste. Marsh Flats. We're running all of the best fetches. Misty Rainforest. Necro, Blossom Snarl, Overgrown Tomb, Polluted Delta, 6 Swamps, a Swarm Yard. This gives us the ability to regenerate one of our squirrels. If you're not familiar with regeneration, the next time something that you regenerate would be destroyed this turn, it's instead tapped, removed from combat, and all damage is removed. So that way, if someone Blasphemous Axe and you want to keep our commander on the battlefield, this will provide the adequate protection. Very few cards get around the regeneration. Treasure Vault. It says XX tap and sack this to create X treasure tokens, ideally bringing some squirrels along with it. Squirrels love shiny things after all. Twilight Mire. Urborg, turn everything into a swamp. The Verdant Catacombs. War Room, a little bit of card draw on the mana base, this is good to see. Windswept Heath, Wooded Foothills, and a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, turn everything into forests. So yeah, great deck from a great player. It's been a while since I've played with Booty, so hopefully in the near future we will. What are some of the cards that I would consider for a deck like this? Well, I personally would like to lean more into the Aristocrat thing, so I think Agent of the Iron Throne is already on Booty's radar. As long as our commander is out, whenever an artifact or creature we control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses a life. But if we don't necessarily want to worry about the background clause, we can always go with Bastion of Remembrance, which, in addition to having that Aristocrat trigger, regardless of whether or not our commander is on the battlefield, it gives us a Human Soldier token. So, excellent synergy here. He's also got a Wishclaw Talisman and a Diabolic Intent in his sideboard. I would definitely recommend running these. Obviously, we're very combo focused, so we definitely want to be able to get our best card when we want it. And one notable absentee from the removal suite, Beast Within. Destroys any permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast token. We could use this on our own permanent and synergize that way. Beast Within, I don't think is the super auto include. It doesn't have to go in every deck. I was just a little surprised not to see it here. That's all. And for card draw, one other card draw thing I would like to suggest before we go today is the Moldavine Reclamation. A little pricey at 5 mana to drop, but once it's down, whenever a creature you control dies, gain a life and draw a card. So that means our squirrels die, it pads our life total. We want that. So yeah, these are just things. These are just some of the cards I would consider for a Chatterfang deck. But what Booty's got going on, of course, is awesome as is. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you want to see more, be sure to check out the YouTube channel up here. And I've also got a couple more videos here. One of my deck lists, as well as a previous Dungeons and Cardboard Community Theater. Be sure to check those out, and we will see you all again next time. Bye for now.